Inside Thursday night, how's it going? Alright, strip back, good crack, multi-trade podcast. Share the knowledge you know, help to make our sector grow. Everybody's learning from experts and the journeyman. Insights.
Welcome, Season 4, Episode 3. I'm Stephen Buckley.
And I'm Keith Delahan.
And this is Insight, the Stripped Back podcast, sponsored by Robust Lighting, the world's leading LED lighting company.
And later on this episode, we've got Daniel Bradley joining us on the special guest interview segment.
But before that, we've got Conor Brannigan joining us on the Overload segment.
Let's get into it.
The Overload segment. Now on Insight, the Stripped Back podcast.
Conor, thanks for joining myself and Keith on the Overload segment. Delighted to have you.
Yeah, great to meet you, lads. Nice to be here.
AKA Tools for Fools.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you follow somebody for so long, your alias takes over, does it? Do people start shouting that at you?
Yeah, it's funny. CB Electrical would have started off as my first electrical page, and then people started now. It's like, you know, you're out and about, or you're out with the lads, or you're down playing five-side or something, and you get there's Tools for Fools, like, get shouted across at you. So I think that's more because I get more videos out on that channel and such, more so than CB Electrical, because it'd be hard, you know, when you're on the job and stuff.
Yeah, I know we mentioned it on one of the other episodes, but I was in Blanchardstown Shopping Centre and met you in there, first time meeting you face to face. And again, I was on to my missus. I was like, I just met Tools for Fools there. And she was like, what are you on about? I was like, it's one of the lads there that sells tills, like, you know.
Yeah.
I need you.
But you talked about your till passion then first before we get into the electrical. So obviously, yeah, you've got the Tools for Fools Instagram page. You obviously must have a passion for the tools in order to want to create some sort of a business out of it.
Yeah, always when I was younger, you know, like when my dad or my brothers would be at home, you'd see them with tools and stuff like that. They always just fascinated me, you know, like you could have this tool to do that or whatever. And then kind of maybe as I was going along, starting off my apprenticeship, I was like, geez, I'll get that tool. And then you get other lads that say to you, like, why'd you bother spending money on that? And I'd be like, sure, this tool will make my job way easier, you know? And then it kind of started. I had a lot of friends who done apprenticeships when we left school, and then they'd come to you and they'd say, oh, like, where can I get this or where can I get that? And that kind of really gained traction with lads. Like, they'd, you know, and then their friends would text me, oh, where'd you get this? And then I was like, sure, I can start selling tools. Like, but I never once thought, like, of it as a thing of, like, making money or anything like that. I was just really enjoying it because I just love tools. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
If you listed out 5 random hand tools, like, I could tell you roughly, like, where to get them, the price, or, like, it just sticks in my brain for some reason, so.
Yeah, and in terms of the Tools for Fools, are you, for any of our listeners that don't know, are you shop-based or are you online, or what way do we get tools from you?
It's all through Instagram. I have a website that I had running for a while, and it's getting redone, the whole thing. Like, it was fairly basic when I started, like, you know.
Yeah.
The whole thing's getting redone with the logos and stuff like that. So it's just through Instagram. It's kind of the handiest way. So, but I'd like to get it up and running where it's like, you know, like a proper website where people can go on and buy the tools and order. You know, it makes it easier for the customers and easier for me, you know, like, and it's quicker than, you know, like Instagram DMs and such. But most people just text me on Instagram. They'll send me the post of what they like or whatever, or they'll say, you don't seem to have this, could you get me a price on this? And then we talk back and forward or whatever, and then get it ordered into me and then shipped out to them. And then that's kind of, it's usually fairly quick. Like, majority of my customers are returning customers, you know, like, people just keep coming back for different things. So
It's a good way of keeping an eye on what's in demand as well. Like, through a website, you're not really going to do that, but through the DMs,
yeah,
you know, you can be asked, can you get me this? Or
yeah,
our lads are using this tool.
So you're using them yourself, like, which is a
Yeah.
major benefit. Like, so anybody asking you questions,
yeah,
got the hands-on knowledge, you know.
yeah,
No one wants someone to sell them tools in a 3-piece suit, you know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. So, like, anything I sell to anyone, especially hand tools that I stock, they're stuff I use every day. Like, so I'd always get something in for a while, like nearly as a test sample, like, you know, like I got a Weha torque screwdriver a while ago.
Yeah.
I'll test it out for a while. If I like it, then I'll be like, right, I'll start getting it in, see if people want it. But if I don't like it, I just won't bother getting it in, because
It's trying to test it. How do you sell something that you don't like?
yeah, exactly. You know, I couldn't stand behind and say this is great when it's not, like, you know,
Yeah.
because I don't use it, you know. But then you get people, you know, like you get a lot of plumbers who come to me for stuff and they specifically want something that
Yeah.
I've never used. And it's like, if that's what you want, I'll find it for you, you know.
For
But
you.
I'll do my best to research and tell them, oh, you want this, maybe this brand is better. Give them the two options and then they'll decide, you know. But when it comes to like general tools and electrician tools, like I won't sell anything unless I use it like every day, like, you know, something.
It's good, yeah. And you know, would you have always had that entrepreneurial mindset that you have now? Was it something that you've always thought about doing, or is it just something that's just fallen into your lap?
Yeah, I always had like envision different things. Like, you know, I never thought I was gonna get a job and just stick at that and do the one job and then, you know, finish off that and retire. Like I always had random ideas were just coming to my head and stuff like that. And then kind of the tools thing just became because I liked them, and then it kind of became like a passion project where I was like, I never really thought about money. Because I think with some things, if you get in straight away, like I'm going to make a load of money out of this, you're going in with bad intentions and stuff like that, and it doesn't happen naturally, I think, anyway. And then I always loved tools, and I was like, geez, I'm making a bit of money out of this. And then I was like, you know, anytime I have to make a video or do anything like that, I'm not like, you know, like, oh, geez, let's go do that. Like, I'm excited to go, like, make video, or like someone texts me about tools and I'm happy to chat to them, you know. Whereas, you know, things like if you don't like it, it's a lot harder to do things like that. So, but I always, you know, envision myself doing different things, and you know yourself, you get loads of ideas to go do different things like that.
If you can put a few into motion, it's a
exactly.
success.
And you, where did your electrical journey start? What part of Ireland did you grow up in, and what were you like in school even that made you feel like you wanted to do an apprenticeship?
So I'd say in school, like I found school very hard. Like I up to first to third year was fine, you know, and then maybe I did TY, and then from TY fifth or sixth year, like I was going into school and I didn't like it at all. And you know, like I do remember sitting there and being, you know, you're getting taught everything. I was just thinking, you know, this is not for me. Like we're sitting there. I actually never, like, you know, you get the stereotypical story, like I was messing in class. I just would not say anything. I just do nothing. And the teachers used to always tell my parents, like, you know, Conor's, you know, like when he puts his mind to it, he can do it. Like, but he's just not bothered, like, you know. And then as the years went on, fifth year, sixth year, they just, you know, they were just letting me sit there, you know. But once I wasn't causing hassle,
Yeah.
but I always knew, like, I was like, once I get out here, like, that's when life's gonna kickstart for me. But in school, like construction studies, metalwork, like I always loved that, like hands-on. You know, sitting down in a class. Like some of our classes were 2 sets of 40-minute classes, so that's like an hour and 20 minutes sitting down. So I used to love getting into the workshop, making something. You know, you'd start your double class, and then by the end of it, you'd have something half made. You know, so. But no, I definitely didn't enjoy school. But I would have found a lot of the lads I went to school with, they had like a goal, maybe of a certain amount of points to get to get a course. And maybe if I had something like that within construction, I would have been, you know, a bit more hyper focused. But I was kind of floating through the wind, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And you know, like I'd be coming in every morning, and the lads would be talking, "Oh, we're studying for this test and this test," and I'd be sitting there, and I'm just like, I did nothing for that. You know what I mean? And then, but even doing nothing, I still done well enough in school. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
like. And then I do look back sometimes, think, you know, maybe if I tried a bit harder, but I'm happy the way things ended up. Like, you know.
Yeah, well, it's something that we've spoken about numerous times on the podcast. If they could have a bit of maybe a reform and did something a bit more career focused to the individual in you know, in fourth, fifth, and sixth year, you know, instead of having the zombies sitting there that like you said, you still did get something out of it, your metal work and what you say, woodwork.
Yeah.
So you enjoyed those classes. So to an extent, you did get something from it, but and as you know, most mothers or fathers will try and keep you in as long as they can.
Yeah.
It's not just, you know, because of the academic side of it. I suppose it's in a way it's you know, life lessons and experiences with friends and stuff like that. That's why people try and keep them in as long
Yeah, and like
as you can.
it's like that when, you know, people see students being academically good in class, they latch onto them, and you know they can show them the end goal. You know, this is the point you need to get to. This is the college you can go to. But it's like when you go in and, we would have went in and, done a bit of engineering or tech graphics or whatever. If you had a flair in that, you were never sort of latched onto to say, geez, he's very good at his practical there, and he's very good at his skills with his hands and,
No.
you should go for an apprenticeship. It was never
No,
sort
never
of,
was it.
highlighted to you. So you were sort of going through those motions and not knowing what your end goal was. And like what Keith said, that if there was a reform on it, which I think, we'll get to in turn with the likes of building heroes and stuff, I think putting that type of information out there can only be beneficial now to students coming through, because we were lost, we were lost coming out of school because you just thought like, I'm only doing this just because it's a class that I can do, because other people are doing something else that's going to benefit them, and they just need a class to do stuff to get the lads in there, just more sort of practically handy, just get them in there, let them work on a lathe or something,
Yeah, that's what it was, literally. Like,
I think back into, being in school, you're talking about transition year and, having that, sort of mindset that you could do something a bit more, physical or, something with your hands. How did the apprenticeship come about then? How did you end up getting your first start as an apprentice?
So I was originally going to start a PLC, and I can't even tell you what it was in. I was just going to do it just to go to college and
love your passion.
yeah, have the crack. And one of my brothers came to me and he said one of his good friends, Stephen, was looking for an apprentice. He was a self-employed electrician doing a lot of local work, like. And he said he's looking for a first year, and I said, oh, I'm going to start in this PLC. And he was like, oh yeah, you seem excited, like he's being sarcastic or whatever. And I said, no, I'm looking forward to it. And he was just like, you're just going there, you're going to drink and you're going to drop out. Like, I know what you're going to do. So I said, right, sure, I give it a go. Like, and I remember the first day on site, like, it was just like we were first fixing the house, but the roof wasn't properly put on. And like the rain was coming in and everything. And I was just like, geez, what have I got myself into? But like all I did for the whole first day was just like looping out sockets, like clipping cables to the joists and running in feeds and stuff like that. And I loved it. I was like, this is class, like, And, then the end of the week comes and, I think back then it was €204, €250. I was delighted to be getting that, and, and then, you start to learn a bit more and things progress like very quickly, like, so. And like a lot of my friends that I would have went to school with, like they'd laugh. Like when I told them I was starting an apprenticeship, they were like, "There's no way you'll be an apprentice of any sort," like because I'd never I come from a farming background and such, so like I'd never mind to get my hands dirty, but none of them were like, "Geez, I could never imagine you being an apprentice of any sort." So yeah, that's how it all began, and I'm glad how it played out, like because I'd say maybe if I was like forced down it, I definitely wouldn't have done it. Like it just kind of really fell into place nicely for me, like
Have you got a chance to utilise those skills now back into farming in any way, or have you gone back into that as well?
No, I haven't gone near that. I'd my dad would like to get stuff lights put up and stuff like that, and switch it. Yourself, like no farmers wired well, like every time I look at something and I'm like, this whole place needs to be rewired. Like there used to be a 2.5 SWA running across our yard, like an armoured cable, and like sometimes when the tractor drives across it. Yeah.
And how's the apprenticeship like all through? Like obviously, you say you come from a farming background, and I think I was talking to Lisa Lynch before, like, and it was something quite similar on her background as well. And there was talk of being able to go back and utilise that in using our skills back on the farm. And I think even like maybe Josh and stuff like that, like they work for you, like would have some sort of experience.
He's forever putting lights up for himself.
Yeah, so like you just wonder, like when you're doing your apprenticeship, was that in the back of your mind, like to think of, do you want to go domestic, or is it commercial, or or what type of sector did you want to get into?
Yeah, well, we were originally doing domestic, like, so we were doing one-off houses, like nice, like 2-story houses, like that was great, like because you've that bit more time to do it, like you've everything's like top quality gear, like like lovely finish and stuff like that. I would have dabbled a bit in, so I worked for him for about 3 years, and then I went and I done 2 days in Intel with Joneses.
2 days?
Yeah, a whole 2 days. Then it didn't go too well, so I'd gone from them domestic houses to like industrial, and like I had to wear a beard mask and like everything, like all the PPE, and it just wasn't for me. Like I'd done 2 days and I was like, You know, it was just really dark and stuff in there, and it just, you know, I was used to just being me and my boss just in the middle of the countryside, you know,
that's right, yeah.
and like just so many rules, clocking in, like just things I wasn't used to. So I'm a domestic man at heart, like, you know. So and then I worked for a long time in Avon Hospital, rewiring a unit and doing a lot of maintenance. So that was kind of commercial as such because it was a hospital. Like that was very good. Like they taught me a lot about fault finding and stuff like that, which is great to learn. Like, you know, because you know you can do your 4 years or whatever, you can get qualified and you come out and you've never fault find or anything like that. So,
Yeah, and then I suppose to today, naturally being in the domestic background and having, you know, being the domestic sparks, I suppose it kind of leads you on nicely into solar and renewables. So, yeah, we see a lot of your online stuff now is you doing inverters, batteries, solar panels. What's that been like?
yeah, solar's great. So it is like it was a thing I never even thought, you know, I was going to get into, and then it came up after I went from one job to another, and I love it. Like every day is different, you know, and you know, there's so many different elements. Like, you know, people are getting car chargers, and then there's all these different types of inverters now people are getting, and like it's great to see someone, you know, with just a normal house like in any given part of the country, and you know they have their own system, like, and a lot of them are like, you know, running on high efficiency, like, you know, and
Yeah, off grid almost.
yeah, and then they're getting battery storage to store all their energy and stuff like that, and then we use the eddies quite a lot for the hot water diverters. So when the sun is shining, like the customers creating free hot water, so they do be delighted about that. You know, people are getting good return on their money, like with the solar, like, you know, it seems to be booming now at the moment. So
Yeah, there is good satisfaction when you finish a job like that and you have them online, and you might have your installers portal and you're keeping tabs on how customers are doing, and you, like, I know we have our installers portal where we'll go back and, you know, monitor their system and see how they're doing. But some of them I've noticed this year now, because they're going with a slightly bigger system, a lot of people that we're installing for have like been offline, or sorry, off grid for, you know, from May onwards, like, which is mad to think, like.
yeah, and exactly, and it's always people think like in Ireland, you know, we don't get the sun and stuff. Like people get confused between the sun and just actual daylight. Like on a good brisk morning, and like, you know, you're producing a lot. Like, do you know what I mean? Like people are getting 5 kilowatt systems in their house, like they're producing 3-4 kilowatts when you would say, oh, it's not sunny out, but it's bright, you know. So
Yeah, you've got to forgive Irish people for not knowing what the sun looks like now.
yeah,
And it's all got to do with efficiency as well, and even the temperature
Yeah.
falls into it. I'd say that to most customers, like, people would think, like Conor said there, people think solar wouldn't be great in Ireland, but you've got perfect temperatures for those panels to be highly efficient. Because if you ever go over to Spain or, you know, Turkey or any of those really hot countries, like, you'll notice you'd think there'd be more solar panels, but because it's so hot over there, the panels lose their efficiency.
Right.
So you'd see some of them systems would have like air conditioning units underneath them, just to cool them down. You know what I mean? Because they're too hot, like, you know.
So what's that creating, like waste heat, like?
Yeah, just losses. Yeah,
Like,
just losses. Yeah.
very interesting, yeah. And like for yourselves, you know, you see, you know, installs, like you'll put up installs, Conor will put up installs, and you know, you'll see your inverters and your battery packs, and you'll see everything all installed in one position, and you'll stand back and you'll take a picture of it and you'll be proud of it. Is that becoming the new, I'm going to take a picture of downlights here in a house, like, and see how it'll be? Is that the new proud picture now that electricity put up, is the solar?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, you see a lot of people like, you know, picture of the whole system, like on say one given wall or something, like that's the new thing, you know, especially on like LinkedIn and stuff like that's a big thing. But you know, it's mad, like you could have it all mounted on the wall. Like I sent you a picture of when we were finishing on a farm, and then you see everything on it, but like all the work, like there was like 75 meter SWA run just to get the SWA to there, you know. But no, it is good, like, and it's great, like, because everyone within solar stuff like that, they're all willing to help each other out, like, you know. You had Henry Dean on one time, like he's really got into the solar now, like we'd be back and forth on the DMs, you know, helping each other out, which is great, like, so.
And is there skills, like, would you keep, like, know the difference between, say, hiring somebody who's worked in domestic, say, just doing rewires, you know, or new builds? Is there a separate skill set, that you would expect from, say, an employee working on solar?
Well, I think the kind of person you'd be looking for would be someone like Conor, because you've got someone coming from the domestic background that, you know, is already an electrician, basically. And then you're adding this to his skill set.
Yeah.
Where in the opposite direction, I don't know if I'd be as, you know, willing to take someone on that came, like, started doing his apprenticeship through solar and then looked to switch back to the domestic. So I think, like Conor said, his career to date has been fairly diversified, which I would recommend to anybody or any apprentice getting into the electrical field. Like we've got we had an inquiry during the week from a third year that has done solar since the day he started. Do you know what I mean? And then he's looking for a change, so he's looking to do domestic. But it's very hard for, as an employer, to commit to somebody that hasn't done any domestic work, and it's on a third year rate, and basically being a first year in terms of doing the domestic work. So it's an awkward one, you know. But that's something that an apprentice has to really think about.
Yeah, see, that'd suit a company if they're predominantly just doing solar, you know, they'd hire him probably straight away. Like my company, Solar Smart, we only do solar, like, so, you know, something like that might be perfect for him. But, you know, like, even you see the lads who have only done solar and, you know, you're doing a 2.5 circuit, you know, to do with the eddy, like, for the bath and sink and for the heating, like, and, you know, just like the light neutral earth to feed in, feed out, like, or whatever, like, it blows their mind.
Blows their mind, yeah.
They just...
Yeah, that's the point I was touching on. It's like getting somebody with a bit of a background in domestic. Then when you have, like what you were mentioning with the eddies, like, and you've got your, like, you know, like your heating circuits and stuff like that linked into, you know, a solar system, to be able to have the knowledge of where those cables are going off and what they're doing, like, is definitely going to be a benefit compared to somebody who's just literally just get the solars working and that's all they care about, like, you know.
Well, I just think the domestic just covers more areas of being an electrician, even in terms of being an industrial electrician, do you know what I mean? And containment and stuff. Like in domestic setting, you'd be using plastic maybe instead of steel, but you're still doing the same thing. Circuits are predominantly the same.
It's just a room start.
Yeah, it's on a bigger, larger scale with maybe more containment and stuff. But I think you're getting the bare basics of, you know, how to be an electrician and how to get your core. I suppose what fundamental. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot of electricity in general, like, just how it all operates. But you see, lads, like, it's hard for some lads to go from industrial, like, you know, because a lot of the time they're starting off in the first year, they're getting a really good rate, you know, they might be getting other benefits and stuff like that, and then, you know, to try prompt them to come over to domestic where they'll learn more, but they'll just get the rate, say, you know, or whatever, like, but they get good training, but it's very hard to steer them that direction after they're getting probably maybe, you know, a bit more money than what they get domestic. Like, you know, I had a lot of lads in my year like saying, "Oh, come with us, we're in X, Y, and Z." You know, you get €400 rather than the 250 you're getting with my boss. But like, I've learned so much more than they have. You know, like.
Yeah, I spoke to Keith this week actually about you know, the maintenance aspect of a business, and we were talking about how, you know, lucrative it can be as well in regards to, you know, getting contracts in with clients and, you know, just standard maintenance. So like if it was me, it could be like distribution board checks, emergency lighting, fire alarm checks, the likes. So that's in, you know, commercial aspect of it. And I was mentioning to Keith, like, you know, certain clients we might have about, you know, pushing certain types of, you know, maintenance contracts onto them, keep steady influx of money coming in regards to maintenance. Is that something that can be offered in regards to solar as well? Is there maintenance with it that you can come back and do, you know, checks on the system? Is that something that you provide as a company?
We don't provide it as a company, but I can see it as a thing that will take off. You see a lot of companies are doing it now, and it's definitely something that's needed, you know. Just come back and, you know, disconnect everything, test everything, you know, make sure everything's okay with the panels, you know, check the ends of all the cables, you know, because, like, over time, like, everything gets wear and tear, you know, so that'd be a great thing that and people should be getting into, and there's definitely a big gap in the market for that, you know.
Yeah, there's 100%, because even with batteries, you know, because, you know, we'll go in and we'll do checks on batteries, even if it's, you know, down to the smallest 12-volt batteries, you know, 7AHs that are in, you know, your fire alarm panels, anything like that, you're doing checks on your batteries, and they've all got a lifespan, you know what I mean? And you'll go in and you'll do, you know, your temperature checks on them. You'll do, your readings on them as well, and you'll check the cells and stuff like that. I just think it's something that's completely missing out of the solar aspect of it now, like that. Like the people are just putting in these batteries and they're not providing maintenance contracts to these clients. You know what I mean? That could be quite lucrative.
Yeah, and it can be hard in the solar as well because a lot of people got into solar for the wrong reasons because it was kind of booming in Ireland. The grants came in and a lot of people were coming in to try and make that quick buck and just install the system,
Throwing the mains, yeah.
set it up, and good luck. Like, we see some jobs that we come to that other people have done and we've come back to, like, and some of the stuff they do is, it's going to blow your mind. Like
At the time, the rule books probably weren't even written. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was it's nearly like an no holds barred thing. Get it in, get it working, get gone type of thing. And it was for a hell of a lot more money than you get for one now. But the amount of jobs we've gone back to that, we've got a call from maybe systems 5, 6 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, and they're just saying, "Oh, can you come and just have a look? Our bills are quite high," and you'll find the inverters are dead.
Taking things back a bit, Conor, from the solar and talking about, the next generation coming through, and making sure that they have all the knowledge that they could possibly have in order to be able to make the right choice. Building heroes is something that myself and Keith have been fairly involved with, like, over the last few months, and getting people onto the podcast and letting them share their stories. You've had the pleasure of getting involved in it as an ambassador, and I was just wondering if you can let us and our listeners know how that experience has been.
Yeah, so Building Heroes is great. It's an initiative by the government to try to get more people in construction in general and get more apprentices. Because everyone's trying to, the housing crisis and everyone, people are trying to build more houses. We need to get more apprentices in and make it more encouraging for people and just easy for people to find out information about it. So the great thing is you go on the Building Heroes website and on their Instagram page, and you can see videos of day in the life of, say, me as an electrician. Liam, you can see him doing BIMs, all the architects like Sheka. You can see people like that, and then you can get a few videos of that and say, oh, maybe I'd like to do that, or maybe I'd like to do this. Like, my nephew would like to start an apprenticeship, and he was saying, I'd like to be an electrician. I said, go onto the Building Heroes page, have a look, see what you'd like to do. There's different things for everyone. And he said, Jesus, carpentry looks really good. So when I was starting my apprenticeship and I was Googling it and looking around on YouTube, you couldn't really find videos of what's it like being an electrician, what's it like being a carpenter, so forth. So it was great to be able to be a part of Building Heroes. And I have people texting me now on TikTok, Instagram, and saying, oh, I seen the video of Building Heroes. I'm actually going to look into that and see. And some of them have actually started apprenticeship, so that's good,
Yeah, in terms of being able to see, I know you mentioned there, like, if you wanted to be an electrician, more importantly, it's showing you what it's like to be an apprentice electrician. So for any young person leaving and not knowing, or leaving school and not knowing what the apprenticeship is going to be like, going through Building Heroes will show you nearly step by step, maybe like the day in the life of an apprentice electrician or plumber, which is good, because like you said, if you go online, you won't find anything about being an apprentice in these trades. You'll find an electrician, you'll find a plumber, but you won't find the actual, the learning and I suppose the apprenticeship side of it.
Yeah, so it's great. So, like, we've started a series now where there's 2 videos out so far. It's explaining phase 1 of an electrical apprenticeship and phase 2, and there's just videos of me explaining it. So we'll try to get out a series of all them phases explaining, because we have a first year in work. He's waiting for his phase 2, his college placement, and you can see, like, he's thinking, geez, what am I actually going to do there? So it's great to have that video out and, like, calm that person down, because they can have a look and say, all right, I have a bit of an idea, but if you don't know anyone else doing an apprenticeship, you wouldn't know what you're going to do when you go to college or you're off-site learning. You'd have no clue what you'd be doing.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's something that would have been really beneficial for us when we're coming through. I think it's just great to have it there now for the next generation, and I think myself and Keith are just going to try and keep involved and trying to keep, helping out as much as we can in order to have, like, yourself and anybody else that wants to come on and share their story, come on here and do it.
Oh yeah, we think it's a great thing. And like, the more we can push it, the better, I think. And obviously what you are doing is great, and quite brave in a way, because it's fairly daunting to be young and to be trying to, take that responsibility on your shoulders. So fair play to you.
Yeah. Look, we'll take it a bit lighthearted to finish it out, and you've got the tools for full hoodie on, as I mentioned before, and you have a passion for your tools, and I just think it'd be great to find out what your three favourite tools are, maybe ones that are currently on your site on sale, or ones that you like to use day to day.
So my number one would definitely have to be the Ware stubby screwdriver. So it has a handle in it with a few bits in it, so you don't need to go looking for bits, and it's for tight areas when you're especially working in the hot press doing the eddy for the hot water with the solar. Then number two would definitely be the Nip X5 ones. I use this every time I do a cable run. Some people use it for everything. It's like a MacGyver's tool. It's got like a pointy nose pliers on it, a crimping tool, and a curved jaw to cut cable fairly well of up to like 10 or 16 squares. It gets a good crunch on the cable. So people love that, and I always keep it in the bag. And then number three would definitely be the Ergo strip. This got a special place in my heart, so it's for stripping flex if you're using flex the whole time. Then it has a blade on the inside to crack open the flex, and then it's got from 0.5 mil the whole way to 4 mil on the side of it to strip core. So it's great if you're working with stranded and doing a lot of second fixing. Like,
Yeah, deadly.
Brilliant. Can't go better.
I do
Nice like that.
I do like an Ergo myself, and yeah, for anyone that hasn't read the Ergo Nipex description on their website.
Yeah.
No, brilliant. It's class too.
Listen, Conor, before we let you go, one of the most important questions I think is, what would your song choice be to add to the Spotify playlist that we've got going for season 4?
so the last few days in the van on driving down the motorway, I've definitely been listening to Kate Bush, Running Up That Hill. So it's a bit of a famous song. It's an old song, but it's got a place in my heart.
Inspiration.
Yeah. Stranger Things, I've heard it on a recently, brilliant song, and
Yeah.
this playlist is getting good, Keith, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's a lot more variety than the last one, I think.
Yeah, it definitely suits me down to the ground, and
Yeah.
delighted to have that choice going on, Conor. Been a pleasure to talk to you. We're going to have a little trial wall set up in this studio fairly soon that we're looking to get people back in to complete, and hopefully you'll accept the challenge to come back in and do it.
Look forward to that.
Wish you the best for the rest of this year and whatever else you've got going on, and look forward to talking to you again fairly soon.
Thanks very much, lads. It's great meeting you. It was
Nice seeing you, PPEX.
Yeah, I'll definitely be there. Camera will be there.
Cheers. Take it easy. Have a good one.
Appreciate it.
See you after.
Cheers, lad.
Right, Keith, that was great having Conor Brannigan on the Overload segment.
Yeah, it was great having him on. I think he's shining a light on the apprenticeship and the apprenticeship schemes that are available to, I suppose, people coming out of school and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, there's no harm. Any bit of information for the next generation coming through that's going to give them a bit of a leg up, or any bit of information in regards to what type of sector they want to get into or what type of trade they want to get into is only beneficial, and an extra bonus, a bit of solar chat for yourself.
Yeah, no, it's great getting into it with him, and for someone so young, he has great knowledge in it. So fair play to him, and fair play to him for, you know, like we said, highlighting the apprenticeships and true building heroes. You know, really shining a light on, you know, the apprenticeship schemes and things that are available to, I suppose, people coming out of school.
Yeah, and for anybody looking to pick up any decent tools that they need to use, albeit in the electrical industry and the plumbing industry, head over to Tools for Fools on Instagram and see what they have to offer.
And for anyone that didn't know what an ergo stripper is, they do now.
Yeah, exactly. But look, I guess we'll keep rolling with the episode, and we've got Daniel Bradley joining us on the special guest interview segment, ready to share his amazing story with us.
Let's get into it, Steve-O.
The guest interview segment, now on Insight, the Stripped Back podcast.
Dan, thanks for joining myself and Keith in our new studio here in the Robus headquarters. Delighted to have you.
Yeah, appreciate it, lads. Actually looking forward to talking about everything again, and delighted to be on.
Yeah, well, I remember you were talking there before this that Stephen said you were coming on. I was like, Dan Bradley, who's that? Like, who's that? And then he showed me pictures. It's a fucking wholesaler, Dan. You know what I mean? So, no, like so. No, great to have you on. And look, as I said, didn't know the backstory and all the suppose the Instagram posts and all are very inspirational. So, great to
I
have you
guess,
on.
but before we get into your journey and your story, I guess myself and Keith just want to say congratulations. Big news last week. New Baba.
Yeah. First boy. Obviously, have two girls, so delighted when we were told we were going to have a boy. You know what I mean? I think it's every man's dream to have his little son. You know, and I'm made up now, as you may say. I'm made up now, so delighted. Yeah.
Yeah. And how's the overall experience been for you?
It's been tough enough. We were told at about 20 weeks that he was going to have spina bifida. So sort of threw us off, you know, and it was sort of something that we were like, how do we deal with this? Because it's never something that you think is going to happen to you or anything like that. So when we were told, it was a bit of a wobble, you know, but over time we just dealt with it, and luckily there's a lot of good things out there now that can help with these sort of conditions. So we were actually lucky enough to be chosen to go over to Belgium, and she was able to get a surgery which helped major. So delighted.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I know you were showing us a few pictures and all that, and we were just saying off air, I suppose, the amazing things they can do. Do you want to talk the listeners through the whole process?
Absolutely. Look, it is, and I think when we were first told about it, I was absolutely stunned. So for anybody that doesn't know about fetal surgery, it's for women and babies, I suppose, up to 26 weeks. Anything over that, it's too late. For whatever reason, I don't remember, but so I think my partner was 25 weeks when she got it done. So we flew over to Belgium and we had to spend 10 days over there. So in layman's terms, exactly what they do is they cut her open from hip to hip. They take the womb out of her, make an incision in the womb, and they operate on the baby. So for anybody who doesn't know, spina bifida, there's lesions in the spine, and anything from below that, then, you know, he's paralysed or whatever, he'll have difficulty with his bowels and stuff. But they were able to close his back up while he was still in the womb, you know. So he was born on the 26th of last month, and when he came out, I looked at his back and like that, he's, you know, it's all closed up, like he's a wound closed up. But it's amazing how they can do it. Absolutely amazing.
Class, deadly.
Brilliant. And we wish you the best. We wish you, everyone, the best. And I think, like Keith mentioned before, technology and sciences and, you know, medical procedures have just come on so much over the years, and to be able to give, you know, your child the best chance at life now is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no, it is. And like all the doctors in the Rotunda, Temple Street, everyone, you know what I mean? They've been more than amazing. Even the doctors over in Belgium, like they really do make everything, wouldn't say like hassle free, but you don't worry too much, you know what I mean? They really, really put you in.
Which at ease.
Exactly, yeah.
You got a name picked?
Yeah, Jesse.
Jesse?
Yeah, so little boy Jesse. So our girls have unisex names, you may say. So my youngest is Frankie May. My eldest is Alex. So we had a couple of names picked and just couldn't decide. And then obviously we seen them and we just thought Jesse. So it's a unisex name as well.
Name.
Right, stopping, you know.
Yeah.
The trend. The Kardashians of Look, obviously, seeing everything you've been doing on TikTok and social media, and know, as Keith mentioned, know your face through the wholesalers, and your story is amazing. And to be able to ask you to come on and share it with us is a privilege. And we were doing a bit of research, myself and Keith, and we were typing the name into Google, and it was coming up, the Bradley surname and then the Moore surname. And I was like, it's the same person. Trying to figure it out. And I was wondering, what's the story behind the two names?
It's my alias, but we used to get sent for the guards. No, so I was fostered when I was 2. So I was fostered to my auntie. So I was always growing up as Bradley. So from the age of 2 years old, I was known as Danny Bradley, and then all through school, Bradley, everything. It was only later in life when sort of have to become an adult and sign things, all this stuff. That every time I was signing Bradley, they'd follow up and then say, "Can I see some identification?" And I'd show them, and like, "That's not Bradley." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sorry, that's more." So I suppose people ask, where's it come from? And that's the reason. So I was fostered, and everybody knows me as Bradley, but like personal things, like just having to sign for stuff, it's always been more. So my social media, it's Daniel M. Bradley. So I'll just keep it in there nice and short for if anybody's ever querying it,
Yeah. And come here, what's the story behind the fostering? What's the crack there?
So my mother would have been an alcoholic. Don't know who my father is. Don't need to know, that way. I suppose later in life I always had a little thing in my head, Jesus, who was he? You know what I mean? Does he even look like me? Few birthday cards there from me, whatever. No, never knew him. And my mother died when I was about 11. I wouldn't have had a great relationship with her. I wouldn't have seen her as much as I would have wanted her, So my auntie had fostered me when I was 2, and I lived there, and I was brought up really well. My auntie fostered myself and my sister.
Right.
Loving family, gave me everything I needed, the whole lot. So I never really wondered too much about what life would have been like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was happy enough growing up, I suppose.
Of course, you would have been young at the time, you know what I mean? So, but
just with the fostering, would that have been direct fostering from your mother, or would you have been, say, in a halfway house?
So initially I was put into a home. Right. Don't know if anybody can remember it, Madonna House. So it was actually closed down, believe it or not. There was a lot of stories. I don't know if that ever happened to me. Don't ever want to remember the place in that way. I just remember a red couch. Must have been crying on it for bleeding days. But Madonna House, I was there, and all the kids, so the big scandal happened, and all the kids in Madonna House are being moved over to the UK, to a fostering home over there. Now, we only found this out later, that my auntie, who I call my mother now, she actually says, well, look, they can't go over to the UK. We'll lose them forever if they go over to the UK. Jesus. So they said, look, we'll foster them, that way. So they took me straight on and fostered me. That was the last of it. There was never any more back and forward trying to get homes or anything like that. I was stood there, and I was there for the whole time.
Right.
It's mad, yeah. And come here, was there any difficulty, like, I suppose, as you were growing up, knowing that you were fostered, and then obviously the past and your mother and, your dad not being around, was there any, like, points where you found it difficult? Like?
So, at that age, growing up, like, I'm talking from 8 onwards that I can really remember, I would have never really thought too much into it.
Yeah.
I suppose there was always maybe that little feeling of being a black sheep.
Yeah.
Like, now I'm getting all the love and, all this, but maybe later in life when I sort of became into my teens, I was thinking, I'm the black sheep of this family. They never made me feel like that. Yeah. But it was only then, when I sort of came into my teens, is when I started to really think about being fostered. But growing up, other than that, I wouldn't have thought about it. I don't think a kid at that age does think about it.
No.
But definitely, when I came into my teens, that's when I started to hit me as such, when I started to be a bit more conscious about my past and how I feel.
Yeah, and how you're going to be going forward, I suppose. And so, like, you see kids, at their own mother and father's funerals, maybe. And, I've been at a couple and, young kids there, and maybe their mother's passed and they're kicking a football, like having great crack. They actually just do not know what's happening.
I remember when my mother passed, I was at the funeral, obviously, so that way. A couple of my friends from school would have been at the funeral as well, just support, that way. And I remember one of my mates comes up to me and he's like, whose funeral is it, And I says, me mum's. And he sort of said to me, should be a spy, your ma's over there, And I was like, laughing. I was like, no, where is my ma? It's just, I didn't feel anything down, and I didn't know what it was, because maybe I wasn't attached with my emotions or something then, maybe I was blocking things out still, so it's hard to say.
Do you think, having that experience, I know you said it was at a young age, but I still feel like certain things get ingrained into you, like, say, going through your school years and maybe, even into your teen years. Do you felt like you ever had the need to, or the want to try and fit in, or, try, even with friends, like,
Absolutely. So it was only later in life when I started to realise all the things I used to do when I was younger, you know. I craved attention, you know, I craved acceptance. And that is obviously from rejection. So little did I know my emotions was and my subconscious was saying how I was rejected as a child. And that led me to being wanted to be accepted constantly in life. So I didn't know at the time what I was doing. It's only looking back, thinking, Jesus, you know, like if you told me you loved ballet, so did I. You know, it's all these little things that I wanted you to like me. And if for any reason that you disliked me or didn't give me the attention I wanted, I would have done anything to get that.
That would have hit you hard, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mental. And school, what was school like in general? Like, I suppose going into secondary school and stuff like that.
Yeah, so like, I suppose it seemed all right, you know. I just wanted to always make people laugh. And that was probably just something with the whole acceptance thing as well. I didn't care too much academically, you know. Never done my homework, never done any of this. Like, the teachers loved me though. And I always remember a teacher saying to me, look, you're absolutely great in class, you're great to be around, but you're going nowhere. Right. You really are going nowhere. And that sticks in my head to this day. I actually done a talk in the school only recently, and I told them that scenario, and one of the teachers says, name and shame. You know, through it, God, name and shame. And believe it or not, that teacher was still in the school, and she was there listening to me. I would have never said it. Yeah. But I suppose, growing up in school, I always had good friends. I always wanted to make people laugh, you know. I didn't feel out of place. Did I feel I was academically great? Absolutely not, you know. I felt everything was really, really hard in school. I could never take things in, you know. Teachers would teach me things, and I always said to myself, I'm different here. I just cannot take in what he is telling me. You know, you could say something 10 times over, and I'm still going to look at you saying, what? How do you do this, you know? So I found it really, really hard academically.
Yeah. I guess, like, you know, a lot of kids, and we've brought it up multiple times on this, about people who don't have a vision for their future, and then it's past maybe their junior cert stage where they say our parents pushed them towards college, or, you know, they decide that they want to do an apprenticeship. Did you ever have any type of image in your head of what you were going to do when you left school?
So I always wanted to work, you know. I always wanted to provide. I always wanted to be, you know, I always wanted to have something. So I remember my very first job, and it was at a young age, was collecting milk money. You know, and I remember saying to my mum, I was like, Blade, I have a job, you know, this is great. And I was really young at the time. I was probably 11, 12, and I was going around in the evening times collecting the milk money with the docker, and I felt great, you know, getting little tips and stuff. So that was my first taste of work life. Being in school then, I was like, you hear of everybody getting apprenticeships. And I was like, I want to get an apprenticeship. And doing my junior cert, failed my junior cert. Well, did I fail it? Just about failed it, you know. I think I tell everybody I passed, but I failed it. And I remember saying to my mum, I was like, can I leave now and just get an apprenticeship? And she was like, no. So I had to do transition year. You know, I had to do fifth year. And every summer came along, I was like, please, can I just leave to do an apprenticeship? I wanted to do an apprenticeship because at that age, people were leaving, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want. What apprenticeship? I didn't know. And I was only, my first day of sixth year, I got caught smoking weed out in the yard, you know, and I would never been, it's not something we grew up doing. It was just all about being accepted, you know.
Someone was doing
that's
that.
Someone was doing that. That's what we done. So I grabbed it on like that, took a puff, and the teacher came staring towards me. So what I done was I actually nabbed it out and stuck it in my belt buckle. The thing was born on the side of me while they were talking to me. No, it wasn't. So I remember leaving that day, and I just said to my master, look, I think I'm going to get suspended. Can I please leave and get an apprenticeship? So she gave in, and I got an apprenticeship down fitting kitchens and wardrobes as a cabinet maker.
All right, yeah.
So I absolutely loved it. I loved working. At one point, I was working in the Cardiff Inn, I was working in Heaven nightclub, I was working at Pizza Hut, all three at once. So I loved to work. So I done that for a couple of years, and I thought that was me now. I'm made up, you know. I'm going to be bleeding, I'm going to be a builder, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. So I thought that was it. And I got let go then, and it was just a big, big shock to me that I didn't know what to be doing.
Oh, yeah. And like, I mean, we've had the experience of being let go multiple times, like from jobs, even through apprenticeships, and, you know, you would probably attain to the feeling of, you know, being let go and having a baby.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, and you're trying to earn, you're trying to have money in the pocket. Like, you know, was that a big thing for you at the time as well, where, you know, you've been let go and you're trying to figure out where the next paycheck's coming from?
So that was the sort of point where I made a decision to start selling drugs, because I needed to provide. I needed to have that feeling of providing.
Yeah.
Now, if I had said it to me, Mrs. Look, I'm gonna do this, she would have said, "Don't be so stupid.
Yeah.
We'll make things work," you know.
To you, it's like another job, like.
Yeah, and we were expecting our first baby at the time.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know, that way, so
pressure.
like, yeah. So I think not having a father growing up, I always had that in the back of my head. So I don't want to be that father, you know. I don't want to be that person. So when my boss at the time said to me, "I no longer require your services," I looked at him, what are you talking about? You know, I was shocked, like.
Yeah, yeah.
I was really thinking, I'm working Smurf. It's like talking to me like that, you know, I'm caught up, like, tell me straight. But I remember he said it to me, and I remember I was collecting my last wage slip and thinking, fuck, like, what am I going to do? I need. Now, I had a bit of money saved up and stuff, and I was there, and I said, what's the quickest way of making money around my area?
Yeah.
You know, and that was it. It was drugs.
Especially with a kid on the way, like.
Exactly. And I just did not want to have that child coming into life and not being able to provide, you know?
Yeah.
But put it this way, Steve, all right? You lost your job tomorrow and you didn't have a job, say, for the foreseeable, and someone gave you the option to do that, to make a few quid for your family. And I'm putting you on the spot here. I'm incriminating you now, but when you would do anything for your family, though, you know?
Well, I just want to say my brother's a guard, so no, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I think it does all come down to, and I know it's a big thing. You know, there's areas, there's circumstances, there's,
Of course, yeah.
you know, even back to the acceptance end of it, because, you know, you got accepted into a job coming out of school, you got comfortable in it, you enjoyed it. You know, you come back out of that, and there's that rejection again. You know, so people don't think about the rejection from losing a job, and that's inside you. You're feeling that again. So there's
Absolutely.
some sort of trauma on that as well. You know,
Absolutely. And I've always doubted myself. You know, everybody doubts himself, but there was always a lot of doubt. If I am sitting in it, like when I was growing up, I was always jealous people. You know, they've always had, in my eyes, more than me. You know, we could be on the same level, but I'm looking at you and I'm looking up you down. And I'm like, look, those lovely runners, you know, look at their clothes. And I've always belittled myself around everybody.
Right,
and that was the whole rejection thing as well, not good enough.
Yeah.
And that's the whole way it was growing up, you know. I've always done that.
Yeah, and I suppose in terms, so you got into the drug dealing, right? Did you ever think of, I suppose, the people that you were selling to? Or was it just like, you know, they're going to buy it anyway?
So
when
I done it, so when I got into drugs, selling drugs, the big money was crack cocaine, you know?
Yeah.
And growing up, crack cocaine and heroin is a dirty drug, you know? And it's a real frowned upon drug. Whereas even nowadays it's frowned upon. Like crack cocaine is the exact same as cocaine.
Yeah.
But people will look at it differently. People will think of cocaine in powder form as a socializing drug and a cool drug to do.
Yeah.
Crack cocaine is the exact same, only for it's just administered different. That's all it is, you know?
Yeah.
One's smoked, one's sniffed.
Yeah.
But the person that's in the alleyway smoking it is no different than the person in the nightclub sniffing it.
Yeah.
And that's down and out, you know? But back then, I would have thought of it as the dirty drug. So I didn't want anybody to know what I was doing.
I know what you're saying, yeah.
So I sold crack cocaine. I didn't sell it in small amounts. I would have sold it in big amounts to the other guys who were dealing with it. So I would have sold large quantities of it. Would have made a lot of money from it. And it all just came tumbling down as quick as it came up, you know. I wouldn't have been one to drive around in fancy cars or flash it and all the goose jackets and all this that you do nowadays.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been that. I just wanted to be secure and know that I've had money there. For whenever I needed it, you know. And I just, look, people think you don't get caught, you'll always get caught.
Yeah. But does it give you that false sense of security when you're doing it, or is there always that, you know, feeling in the background that you're only one step away from it all crashing down?
False sense of security, absolutely.
Yeah.
This will never happen to me. I'll never get caught. Never, ever get caught, you know. And I did think that. Because I always thought to myself, how will I get caught, you know? How? Yeah. But little do you know, guards are out there for a reason. they have a job to do, you know. They're not just wandering the streets.
they're actively looking. Yeah.
Absolutely, you know. They're having meetings, they're putting plans in places, and they're getting intel or information, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And they're going off that, you know. It's not like they're sitting back waiting for somebody to say, "Oh, we sell drugs." You know, it's not like that. And I would have thought like that, so we would have had that false sense of, "I'll never get caught." You know, it's never happened to me. It happened to me.
You remember that moment when it happened?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My stomach nearly fell straight down the arse. And that's been true for God. I actually wasn't in, so I would have done it on a large scale, and it was a very small circle who I would have done it with, and would have never really kept anything around me. So when we were doing it, didn't trust anybody to weigh it or bag it, so I would have done it all. And I remember I had a safe ready to be picked up, and it was 59 quarters of crack cocaine in it and 2 ounces of heroin in it. And I had it in a safe, and I put it in a spot in my apartment. A fella was coming to get it, and I remember I got a phone call when I wasn't in the apartment, and it was the guards.
Wow.
Saying we've gained entry, and we're here now, and I crapped myself. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do? You know, and my missus was with me at the time. We were driving back over to the apartment, and she knew a little about everything that was going on, but you'd never tell them the whole lot. You always keep them safe, and so they didn't. So I just said to her, look, excuse me, I says, when you go in here, you don't know anything. And she was scared, you know, but I remember driving in the apartment over in Waterville and looked around the apartment, and there was 6, 7 guard cars inside the apartment, and all the neighbours were out, you know, and I'm like, oh, you know. So I remember when I went into the apartment, I walked in first, and I said to the first guard, I was saying, she doesn't know anything, I'd love to keep it that way.
Yeah.
Fair play to them now. He brought me straight down to the back room, had the safe opened up. I said, we weren't expecting this. And as true as God, I looked at him and said, I wasn't expecting yours. You know, and he sort of had a little giggle to himself. He says, look, he says, we had a warrant here for weed.
Right.
And I was thinking, a warrant for weed? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
where'd
I've never
that come
fucking
from?
sold weed in my life. Never smoked it. Like, smoked it once or twice, but I would have never done it. Like,
Yeah.
so that was just sort of in the back of my mind. There was no getting out of it. I was caught. So, got charged, was given bail, and I had a couple of choices. When I went to my barrister, he had said to me, look, we can take the long route here and see what happens. And I was thinking, I don't want to take the long route. I want to get this over and done with, you know. With a daughter here that's young, I don't want her growing up and knowing what I'm doing and knowing what I'm doing and the whole lot. So I think I was in court twice, and then I was charged up on my third. I think I had it all over and done with in about 6 to 7 months.
Right.
Locked up. So there was always that. And for anybody that's, like, you know, knows about it, there's always that in the back of your head. I'll get away with it.
Yeah.
I never thought I was going to be in jail. I never thought that was going to be me. False sense of security, you know, something will happen, I'll get away with it. And I remember every time I was going in to see me barrister, he was like, I could be looking at 5 to 8 years here. And I'm like, yeah, what? Like, what? You know, it carried a mandatory 10 years. It was a 15A charge. I was caught with 30,000 worth of crack and 6,000 worth of heroin. So it carried a mandatory 10 years. So I remember going into court that day, driving in with my missus, you know, and she's like, we get breakfast after it. That's what she was saying. And I was like, yeah, we'll go bleeding here for afterwards. We just didn't think it was going to get locked up.
Yeah.
And I remember Judge Martin Nolan, he stood in front of me and he says, the case was being read out, and he said, look, we obviously take into consideration that it's your first major charge and you didn't waste the court's time and all this scenario and you're a young man, but he said, we can't let you away with this, you know. He says, you were on your way to being a major player in this game. He says, and we have to make an example of it. I was thinking, shit. As soon as I heard that, I thought I'm in for it. And he said 4 years. Lads, as true as God, 4 years, I actually was thinking, it's not too bad.
A bit of relief.
Could have been 10.
At the time,
Could have been 10. But the hard part there and then was, I remember when he said 4 years, I looked back at my missus and she was unconsolable. She was bawling. I didn't get a chance to go over to her. You know, I was taken straight down out of the dock. I didn't get a chance to hug her, to do anything like that. So it was tough. But coming to terms with that, it took a while to come to terms that what actually happened. You know, I was down in the cell, and I remember there was a guy beside me, and he's just sitting there. He's like, "Long did you get?" I'm like, 4 years. And he's like, I said, "You?" He's like, 7. And I was just like, real blasé. Like, what the hell has just happened? Like, you know, it took me a while to actually comprehend what's just happened.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
I
Thanks
guess-
for sharing that with us, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah,
Sure,
no,
it's,
look, come here. It's something I'll always speak about, because if there's anybody out there that's
yeah.
looking to do it or involved in it, I'm telling you now.
And like you said, you were low key. You're I suppose in terms of doing it, you're being careful. And then you see the lads, the Egypts out here doing it now, and it's plain as day what they're doing.
Right now, and I think I'm right in what I'm saying here. It's almost like the in thing,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
because I know people that go around wanting to look like they sell drugs.
Yeah.
You know, that way, which is wrong. Like, you know, be yourself.
Brand for
Be
the
your own
person, I suppose, isn't it?
But yeah, it was surreal. And then I remember just getting into the prison van and bringing me to Mountjoy, which is unreal. Like,
That's another like big talking point as well. Like the likes of myself and Keith would never have any experience about it, and you'd hope that, you know, touch wood, like anybody around you would never experience. But like you're walking into a prison like Mountjoy that's, you know, well known, dangerous probably inside, dangerous people around you. Is there any strategies that you have when you're going in there, thinking people giving you advice or anything about what you need to do in order to keep yourself to be able to walk out at the end of it, I guess?
so I was looking at it like when I went through the whole process of being admitted into Mountjoy, they bring you in, they get you to strip down, you know, you're squatting in front of these lads and they're getting you to turn around and do all this, which, yeah, look, you see it in movies. And then they left me in a cell down the basement, and there was no telly, no nothing. I don't know whether they purposely done it. Like, so I just sort of started to think about things, but I was there for a day without anything, without any telly, without any radio, and I was just literally thinking, you know. And it was then I cried, without a doubt. I'm not gonna say I was an absolute soldier and a brave this and big up. I cried.
Yeah.
First night I cried like a baby, you know. I'm coming to terms with, when you're here 4 years, you're like, I'm not gonna be out until God knows when. 4 years is a long time. I'm not going to see this. And all these emotions and all these scenarios run through your head of what life is going to be like for 4 years. So I did. I absolutely cried my eyes out. And I suppose afterwards then I made a decision. Who am I in here? You know?
Yeah.
Am I this drug dealer from outside? You know? Do I gain respect in here for that? Or am I a scared man who's after putting himself in a situation that there's no turning back? And that's exactly what I said I am, you know. I went in there and I remember the governor spoke to me. He said, are you in any gangs? I said, no. He says, do you owe anybody any money? I said, no. He says, is there anybody out to hurt you? And I'm like, no, why is he asking me these questions? But I'm going into a dangerous place, and that's the reason he's asking me, you know. And I remember getting brought up onto the landing and walking by the old triangle that the old song is about, you know, and I'm looking at it saying, that's what the song is about. You know, just come back, that's what the song is about. But I remember I went up onto D1 and I was walking down the landing. So when you get admitted, they give you this red shirt. At the time, it was a red shirt, navy jumper and a pair of jeans. And they hadn't got my size. So they gave me like XL of everything. So I looked stupid coming up with the landing, you know? So, you know, point out the new fella. Yeah. So I remember I went up and I knew people from the area that were in there, and they had come down to me, and I was like, grand. But I didn't want to be coming in thinking, you know, I'm protected by this or this and that. I didn't want that. They gave me clothes and they looked after me, and it was grand. They sort of gave me the spiel of how things is and what it's going to be like, and it's all about your area in there, you know. You have to, if something happens in your area, let's just say it's Blanche Kulak, you know, you have to be with Blanche. Okay. You know, if not, like it's a different scenario. But
mad.
I remember one of the first couple of nights in the cell on D1, the door got closed. I think at the time the Euros was on. There was definitely football on, because your man was like, I'm going to knock the match on. I was like, yeah, lovely. So we closed the door and I'm sitting there. And he's like, put the tea, make the tea. And I was like, yeah, no bother. So I'm making the tea and I'm sitting there. I was like, fuck, I need to go to the toilet, you know. So like that, he banged on the door and the man says to me, what are you doing? What about going to the toilet? And he looked at me, it's after 7. I was like, right. He says, there's the toilet there.
Jesus. Fuck.
Book it.
Yeah.
I says, what? He says, there's that. I just didn't. Obviously, so much going on. I didn't think about it.
She wouldn't.
And he's lying on the bed there watching the Euros. And I'm over in the corner, over the blade, and Ben squatting into it, having a shit,
Jesus
you know?
Christ.
And he shouts over to me as if it's nothing, make sure you spray. You know? And I'm like, what the hell?
This is normal. This was normal. Like.
Believe it or not, that was a good learning thing. I made sure I went to the toilet before it. You know, but at the time, there was the whole changeover with the cells in regards to single cells with toilets. So after a couple of months, I actually got my own cell with a toilet, and it was great. Fucking white ceramic bowl, you know.
Luxury.
The little things, like, you know, the little things. But there's a load of little scenarios in there. There's one other good one that will always stick with me. Always. And like that, you said about meeting people in there, like, you'll always meet people. And some of them have really, really crazy stories. Some of them you wouldn't believe. Some of them you're like, I'll steer clear of him, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember I was on the landing around on Sea Wing, and little chap, outfit, real nice guy, you know. I was, geez, this fella's nice. And he was telling me, how are you? And I was like, how are you? He's like, what are you in for? And I saw 15A, you know, and I was thinking, might as well ask him, you know. And I was like,
There's a question.
what are you in for? He's like, order. I was like, shit, you know, and I got a little bit nervous. I was like, no way. I was like, how did it happen? I was like, that's the last thing you want to be asking. Really?
We're jogging his memory.
That's the last thing you want to be asking. He's like, killed me mum and dad.
Wow.
Now, as true as God is my judge, I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
I literally shut me out there and then I just stared at him. I was like, oh, you know. But an absolute gentleman.
Yeah.
Terrible nice man.
Yeah.
And I got to know him for the whole term of my sentence.
You wouldn't know what the circumstance was at all, like, you know?
Absolutely not.
No dinner on the table or something, was it?
Believe it or not, it was something like that.
Jesus.
That's not what it was like. Sorry, that's what I was told.
Right.
That's what I was told. It was something along the lines of that, but how true that is, I don't know. But like that, you meet so many people in there, and a lot of them are really, really genuine people who made a wrong decision, split decision, or
Family life.
got themselves into a wrong little scenario. And a lot of them are really good people.
Yeah.
I've made a lot of good friends that I still speak to today. You know, like,
Did you find, like, when you're in there that there was things to do in order to keep your mind active?
so there was a school. It wouldn't be in a great school. You know, it's only on certain times, and it wouldn't have been great. I found myself down the woodwork shop,
Right.
and I spent a lot of my time down the woodwork shop. And it helped me as well because a lot of people came to me looking for hidey holes. You know, and wanted me to make things for them, and I'd make things for them, you know, and I'd get paid in heroin or I'd get paid in tobacco.
Yeah.
And I would just then just use that for a shop order or whatever like that. But it was almost like, you know, between Red out of
Prison.
Shawshank Redemption, you know?
Yeah.
It was like Red or Andy Dufresne, wouldn't you? That way. But so I done the woodwork shop. I then became a cleaner on the landing as well. So when you're a cleaner on the landing, you get a privilege that your door is left open till, say, 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And obviously when the doors are shut, you get out and you have to clean the landing. And my little Friday and Saturday night routine was I had a guy in the kitchen who would get me some eggs, you know?
Okay.
So I'd have some eggs, and it's a great grand, and I had a little bag, so I'd crack the eggs into the bag and I'd put them into a kettle and boil a kettle 2 or 3 times. Make some scrambled egg, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'd have me bread, which would a lighter, toasted, so I'd have me bread, and then the Polish in there love to make white lightning. You know, it's like huge and they turn it into white lightning.
Yeah.
And so Friday or Saturday night, I'd have the High Kings playing on the radio. I'd have my door left open. I'd have my little glass of white lightning with my little eggs, you know.
Yeah.
It's a little thing it's these little things that you just make
Yeah.
a bad situation into a good situation, you know.
Yeah. It's like what you mentioned there, like if you're in a position where you can somehow keep a routine going as well. If you don't have that routine, I guess it can get very, very lonely, you know.
It can get very lonely, and you can also pick up bad habits, drugs. You know, I didn't happen to pick up a habit of drugs in there, thank God. My habit in there was coffee,
Right.
believe it or not, and I used to despise coffee. But it was almost like my mind said, right, it's going to be coffee, because if it's not coffee, it's going to be heroin. You know, it was just pure habit. I needed something. And I remember one day I picked up a coffee and I tasted it. I was like, it's actually nice. Yeah. And I was like, my mind just said, yeah, it is nice. You better start. So I picked up coffee, and I love coffee since then. But it's so easy to lose hope as such, or get fed up and just say, fuck it.
Yeah.
You know, when your visits aren't going on, or, you know, you're not getting along with the missus or family and stuff like that. And it happens, you know. Things on the outside are still going on, and you're in there. So you're listening to everything that's happening, and you can't help.
Yeah.
You know?
And over the course of that 4 years, are you able to maintain a relationship still with your girlfriend throughout those 4 years?
So you get visits, and she come up on the visits. Towards the end of my sentence as well, I went to an open prison, Loughlin House, so it's just up at the border. So she was able to visit more, you know, and frequently. I was sort of able to, I suppose, like she stood by me the whole time, you know. How, I don't know. She was in and out with the baby, young baby. She was in and out. Her father as well, we always bringing her in and out, you know. He was a great support for us as well. Your own family would come in every now and then. But yeah, how it is tough, you know, trying to keep a relationship going. My initial thought when I got locked up, you know the way they say in the movies, don't wait for me, you know. My initial thought was like, oh, you can't put her through this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But she said, no, like, don't be stupid.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's what good relationships are.
100%.
Fair play to her.
Yeah, absolutely. Credit to her, like.
Yeah.
And look, then the 4 years were up and it was time to come out. Did you find it hard to integrate yourself back into, I suppose, your daily life, I suppose?
Not really. And the reason being is because my area, if you're in prison, it's almost like this big trophy around your head, you know? It's like this street credit you have. And I was accepted, you know? Everybody wanted to be my friend, which I latched onto.
Yeah.
You know, coming from my childhood, it's everything I wanted. The acceptance that I wanted, you know. Strangers are coming up to me, wanting to go to their parties, wanting to get in pictures with them and all this. And I was like, this is fucking great. So the whole socialising became more and more, you know. And I think at the time, my missus she was allowing me to do it. But then it was constant. It was constant. And she was sort of saying, look, you need to give it over, you know. I was out Mondays, Tuesdays, I was out midweeks, I was out weekends, you know, and it was getting a little bit much. It was all getting a bit much, but my excuse was, you know, leave me alone, you know, let me be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I guess, like, you come out of such a situation that's so strict and stringent, and then all of a sudden life is open back up for you, you're free again. Does that then create, you know, opportunities then to, you know, take up something in a sense that you don't really want to be doing, but it's because, like, you're looking for that
just come
fix again. Like, I mean, you're looking for some sort of fix to give you that.
You're chasing a high.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're chasing that high, and my high was being accepted and socialising and partying. That's what I thought it was. But, like, at this point, I'm expecting my second child, you know, and my missus is getting fed up, and I'm just using the excuse, I just want to enjoy myself. I'm not allowed to enjoy myself, you know, and got to the point where I was using drugs as a coping mechanism to block out whatever it is I wanted to block out.
Yeah, you'd a lot going on, like.
Yeah, a lot going on that I never spoke about.
Yeah.
You know, and drugs was my go-to. It was my go-to for acceptance, you know, it was my go-to for partying, it was my go-to for
socialising,
socialising, you know. And I didn't see, at the time, I didn't see anything wrong with it. You know, my missus was like, can you not see what you're doing to the kids? Can you not see what you're doing to me? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Because you're so caught up in that, and at the moment you can't see anything, you know.
Yeah.
And that just spiraled and spiraled and spiraled.
Yeah, it's like numbing something, isn't it, as well? Like, it's like a beta blocker that's just like numbing that trauma out of your life, and it's just keeping that at bay, isn't it?
Absolutely. Like, look, come here. If something is simmering under here, and if you're just laying stuff over and stuff, you're not dealing with what's underneath. You're just covering it up. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was just blocking everything out, you know, making people laugh, drinking till the early hours of the morning, sitting around people's tables, talking shit, you know.
Yeah, but at what point then does it turn into socialized drug use to an actual drug use that's destroying your life?
It got to the point, so the point where I thought myself, Jesus, was when I started to isolate myself. So I'd go out of a Friday night or whatever like that, you know, and I'm around all people, and then coming into the years of the hour Saturday morning, I was still sitting around the kitchen table, and that's when I'm like, I need to break away from all this, you know.
Yeah.
People don't know, people can't understand me, so so when I started to isolate myself and use drugs on my own, you know, and it wasn't for socialising, and it wasn't for partying, it was mainly for blocking out whatever it is I have going on here, and using it as a coping mechanism.
Like a numbing.
Like
type
a
of thing.
numbing,
Yeah.
you know? And that's not just with drugs. People do it unbeknownst to them with alcohol. You know, people do it with any sort of thing. I was doing it. As soon as I started to isolate myself, I knew that was an issue, you know?
Yeah.
I'm talking, waking up in the morning, sniffing, you know?
Yeah.
Going to work, sniffing. And at this time, I got a job working in a warehouse. And then from then, I went to work in the electrical wholesalers. And even in the wholesalers, you know, going to work, sniffing, doing all sniffing, you know? And it's not good because it's just a real slippery road for anybody that's doing it.
And does it become something that is just a habit rather than a fix? Is it actually doing anything for you?
So when I was using, I could still hold a conversation with you. I could still look you in the face and I could still do everything and you wouldn't even know that I was on drugs. And that's how much your body has this tolerance that it just gains, but you still need it. And if you don't have it, you will feel different internally and mentally. You know, it's like, I need my courage. I can't talk to you unless I have this.
Yeah.
You know that way? I can't cope unless I have this. And that's when shit hits the fan.
When you're not getting it, is it noticeable that you're not getting it?
Yeah, I'm agitated. You know, I can't sit still. I don't want to be around you. You know, all these things, I can't function without it. It's like a car can't run without petrol.
Well, it's exactly that. Like you mentioned there, the alcohol, you know, you see alcoholics with the same symptoms.
Yeah.
And right down to even with, you know, people who abuse food, you know, you can sit in a room with somebody who's like, you know, needs junk food or needs to be eaten, and like that, they get agitated, you know.
It's like that when you watch most of the TV shows, you're talking about the people with the food and you're looking at them, you're like, can they not see the size of themselves? They can't stop, you know what I mean?
It's just that fix that needs to be got, otherwise, like that, you crumble inside without it. You know?
We've had friends growing up that, you know, have gone down that road and a couple of them have taken their own lives, like, you know, in the recent past as well, like, and it's just... It all stems from, you know, upbringing, trauma. And, we had a really close friend that took his own life, like, and it was just sad. Shocked to everyone, like, and no one, like you said with the isolation thing, like, nobody knew what was going on with him. You know?
Look, you could be around 10 people, you know what I mean, and feel like you're still alone in your head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's it comes down to, I know now, if you can't express how you feel emotionally or anyway, mentally, whatever, if you cannot express how you feel, something is wrong.
Yeah.
You need to be able to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Even a little bit. I'm talking like, you don't have to spill your guts up. But even just turn it to somebody, and I know as cliche as it sounds, it's okay not to be okay, but it's absolutely correct. Like if you just turn it to somebody and say, look, I'm not doing great today. That's all you have to do. Yeah. You've said enough for them to be aware of how you're feeling. Yeah. And now they're mindfully conscious of you. And a little bit do you know that you've minimised it a little bit, you know? Yeah. And the more you talk, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
100%.
At the end of the day, people don't know what you're going through.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very important.
It is very important. And like it brought me to some really, really dark places, to the point where I was homeless, you know, living in a car, you know. I was away from my kids, I was away from my partner and away from my family, nobody. And I remember a point I was out and I rang a really, really close friend of mine, you know, who I would have always partied with. Yeah. And I remember I rang him, I was like, oh, where are you? And he was out and he said, look, I'm out with such and such, a few people. And I was like, all right, look, come here. I'm going to come up, I'm going to get a taxi to you. And I was like, no, don't. And I'm like, why? And he said it to me. He's like, you're a fucking junkie.
Right.
And I was like, what? You know, and that was a real, the neck of him.
Yeah.
He was right.
Yeah.
He was absolutely right.
Were you oblivious, not that you were, I know you knew what was going on, but were you oblivious to what everyone else was thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Scary.
You know, I was completely and utterly oblivious. And when you're in that place, everything that's going on in your head is right. Everything you're thinking is right. Everybody else is wrong. Yeah. That's exactly how it is, you know. At the time, I remember thinking, oh, my family turned their back on me, you know, and I just said, neck at them. Yeah. How dare they? The fucking neck at them, you know. Yeah. Me missus turned her back on me. She had every right there.
Yeah, yeah.
She stopped me from saying. Now, when I say she told me back on him, she'd always check in.
Kept in contact, yeah.
She used to drop me food when I was living in the car, you know. But she
creating that distance.
Yeah, you know. And I used to say to myself, "What's the problem?" You know, but I just didn't see everything that they seen.
Yeah,
and that's the scary part of it. You know, you do not see it until it's literally the last minute.
Yeah. Can you talk us through the moment? You know, you talked there about living in your car. Can you talk us through the moment where you're in that situation and then the pivotal moment happens where you have to decide, I have to do something with my life?
Yeah. So I would have always thought of guards. Growing up, would have always thought of guards as scumbags, dickheads, you know, had this stigma around them, whatever. So I remember it was my 29th birthday, and I was asleep in the car with a heap of jackets pulled over me, lashing rain now. And I'd say it was about 4 in the morning, and like that on the window. And I looked and I seen the blue lights, and I thought to myself, fuck, you know, blading guards. Now, the car wasn't starting. There was nothing. The car couldn't be moved.
Yeah.
And I get out of the car, and he's like, how are you? Name, the usual scenario, you know. And he says, look, we've had some complaints. You're going to need to move your car. And I said, guard, I can't move the car. As you can see, I says, look, I'm living in it. And he sort of looked at me, and he was real, right, and I was thinking, right, I'm going to get arrested, going to get this, going to get that. But he looked at his partner that was with him. He didn't say that, and whatever look he gave her, he just looked back at me, and he just said, okay. He said, look, go back into your car. He says, but will you just tell me something? He says, look after yourself. I was like, yeah, no bother. Thought nothing of you. You know, it was a great, grand. I thought, lovely, get away with that.
Yeah.
Go back into the car, close the door, threw the bleeding jackets over me, and I'm lying there, and I'm just like, something's got to give her. You know, I have to do something. I'm like, what the fuck? Like 29 years old, and this is my life. I haven't seen me kids, I haven't seen family, I haven't seen that. It was real. This can't be it, you know. I've attempted suicide and all at this point, you know, and I've done a lot. And I was like, right, what do I need to do here? The guard said, look after myself. I'm like, right, how do I look after myself right now? And if he didn't say that, I probably wouldn't have had the thoughts afterwards. And I said, what's the problem here? And I said, drugs. That's right. Look after myself. That's right. I need to fix my addiction. My sister had said to me a couple of times that she'd try and link me in with Kilmoyne. And I said, right, so made contact with Kilmoyne, started a pre-entry sort of, well, I remember going and getting like the admittal form done, and they were like, what's your problem? And I was like, I'm addicted to cocaine. That was my first time ever admitting, you know?
Yeah.
Writing down and saying this name, and I was like, what's your problem? And I was thinking, I'm addicted to cocaine. But prior to that, when I was walking to Lord Edward Street, I remember seeing people outside, and you know, I was thinking, I'm like them.
Yeah.
I'm like those people who I used to walk by in the street say, fucking junkie. You know, and a terrible thing to say, absolute terrible thing to say.
Yeah.
But I would have been those people who walked by and threw my nose down at those people. And I then became one of those people.
Yeah.
And I remember going in and admitting, yeah, look, I'm addicted to cocaine. I'm addicted to anything that will take me away from myself. Anything whatsoever. And he said, right, do you want residential or do you want a day program? And I said, day program's not going to cut the mustard here. I need residential, you know. He said, all right, look, it's a bit of a wait list. So anyway, we started pre-entries where I had to go there twice a week and give urines twice a week, of a Monday and a Friday. And I had to sort of have a little check-in group, you know, how are you feeling today? And that was that. And in the process of all this, my partner, her father was sick. And he would have been a big role model for me, you know, best friend, you know, really, really supportive. And he was sick, and he had been in St. James, and he had passed away. So I remember it was real tough, you know, real tough for my partner. And me being me, I'm like, I'll be there, I'll support, you know. And I remember the day of the funeral. At this point, I was nearly 3 months clean, longest I've ever gotten. I remember the day of the funeral, and everybody's congratulating me, and geez, you're doing great, but I was just plodding along, you know. And I remember I said to the missus, look, I'll bring the kids home, we'll look after the kids, you stay here. She gave grand. And I went home, and I used the day of her dad's funeral, you know. And I tell this because I don't want everyone's journey might seem good, you know, everyone might see this, but there's always
A hiccup.
you know, and this is something that I'm absolutely ashamed of because everybody has flaws.
Yeah,
And if I was to sit here and tell you all the good things that I've done, Jesus, great, this is an absolute shithead thing to do, you know. The day I heard Dad's funeral, I left and I went home and used when I should have been there supporting her, you know. And she came home and she'd noticed I used, and I just ran. Ran straight to the door, I had a big ball of coke in my hand, and I ran. And it was pissing raining out. And I remember there was like an alleyway from where the apartment is, and I was at one end of the alleyway, and she came out after me looking for me to try and help me and bring me back. And I remember looking down the alleyway, and she didn't see me. I was looking at her, and the pistons ran, and I looked at my ball of coke, and I looked at her, and I chose the coke. Straight away I chose the coke. Because whatever I was feeling there and then, maybe it was the fear of not how I didn't want to probably deal with what I was at going through, with her, I didn't want to face what I'm just after doing. I chose the coke. So at this point I was told I had a bed in Kilmoyne as well. So let's say this was on the Tuesday.
Right.
Let's say this was on the Tuesday. I was to go into Kilmoyne on the Friday. I had literally fucked everything up in my eyes. So I'm thinking I'm never going to get into Kilmoyne now. So I still decided to go to Kilmoyne. And for how this happened, I do not know. When you first get admitted to Kilmoyne, you have to get a urine on arrival.
Okay.
Has to be clean.
Has to be clean. Jesus, yeah. So I said to myself, they're going to fuck me straight out. As soon as they get a urine, they're going to fuck me straight out. So I went in, handed me bags in, got admitted, got shown around, got bleeding, went through the whole thing. And I remember one of the workers says to me, "We'll catch you for the urine now in a couple of minutes." Oh, fuck.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. A couple of minutes passed, a couple of hours passed. Next of all, I go to bed. I'm thinking, I still haven't took that urine. So I'm chugging the water back. Next of all, the next day comes round. Still didn't take a urine. Now, this is not heard of. This doesn't happen. Second day in, or third day, they called me for the urine.
Right.
I goes in, gives the urine, comes up clean. I'm able to stay there. How? I don't know. In my eyes, still to this day, I think it was a dad looking down on me.
Someone looking
I
after
was
you.
just going to say that. Do you believe in higher powers?
I absolutely 100% do.
Even back to the guard knocking on the window and things like that. It's just these moments, isn't it, that give you that
I
little
can
bit
hear
of a step.
yourself, like, actually going through that and getting yourself in there as well. Because, like, at the end of that laneway, it probably seemed that here we go again.
Here we go again. I'm after doing what everybody expected me to do. Do you know that way?
And did anyone tie in with you to get you to actually go, or was it just yourself saying?
No, I was using obviously on that week.
Yeah.
And then I knew I was getting to bed, and I was like, I'm still going. I don't care. I'm still going. I made the decision, like, I still have to try this. I still have to do this.
Yeah.
Whatever. Whether it was my higher power, whether it was her dad, whether it was somebody, they made sure I went to that gate that morning, and I went in that day.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a urine for 3 days in, and my urine came up clean. And that's when I started becoming Danny Moore.
Yeah.
You know that way?
Yeah.
That's when I really started to become who I was supposed to be in life, and who I don't know, who the person who I didn't know I was.
Yeah. So reset,
Mad.
It's when you're in a place like that, you can't hide. You know what I mean? You really can't hide. I tried it.
You're
And I got caught. You cannot hide. It's something that if you're not honest, it's not going to work. Simple.
What's the process in there?
So in there, it's a therapeutic community, right? There's a lot of rehab places around Ireland and stuff, and they have their own sort of methods on how they work. That's a TC. I think it's one of only therapeutic communities in Ireland. So they have a thing where community is method. So the whole program itself is ran by the clients.
Right.
The staff there are just sort of facilitators. They sit in the background, you know. They intervene when they feel they need to intervene. But they just facilitate groups. All the big important stuff happens. It's client-led, you know. The clients are the therapists.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a prime example. Sitting in a room, 34 lads, and we're all around there. And one staff member sitting there, one staff member sitting there. And that's it. They're quiet. And straight away I was sitting there, and a couple of weeks in, I think this is fucking handy. This is great, I can be myself in regards to I can hide, I don't have to come across, I don't have to speak. But then all of a sudden, one of the lads stands up and says, "Everybody quiet." Danny calls my name, and I was like, "Oh no." "Yeah, come here. Why are you here?" That's all he said to me. "So, would like the cocaine?" Yeah, but why are you really here?" As soon as he asked me that question, then I couldn't answer it. I had to stop for a second, and the floodgates opened. I bawled like a little baby, because I had to tell him why I was really there, and I had to get real, and I had to tell him about the little boy that was fostered, not off the bat, but I'm saying I had to really dig deep and say what was really the problem, I had to speak about my issues,
breaking down those barriers,
breaking down the barriers like an onion, peeling it back, peeling it back. And I remember crying my eyes out in that room with 34 lads that I barely knew, but afterwards, walking out of that room, I felt such a relief. Like, God, and I was thinking, that's all I have to do. I just have to talk. I just have to, I'm not going to get judged. I just have to tell people who I really am and speak about what's really going on for me. And I was only then, I'd done 6 months in there, and like that, there was new people coming in after me, and then I was asking them questions, and I was able to challenge them on their life, and that's what people do. They challenge you, If they think you're bullshitting, who knows more than somebody that's already gone through it?
No hiding.
There's no hiding. So we're all coming from similar backgrounds. So we're all going to pick each other's brains, and we're going to know when someone's bullshitting. So that's where community is meted. Do you understand? So it's,
I get you,
it's a great program.
Group therapy, and does that stem then for how you got into the football then as well?
Yeah, so it's one of the things that football I've always grown up, I've always loved, I've always played Leinster senior football. I loved it. And addiction would have took that away from me. And when I was in there, they encourage you to do things that are positive. And at the time, trials for the Homeless World Cup was coming up, and I was in Mexico, and I remember going for the trials, and same again, I visioned to myself I wasn't good enough. Same thing I used to do when I was a kid. I'm not good enough here, I'm not good enough, just to do. But then something just changed, and I started to vision myself playing over in Mexico with these certain players. He'll be on my team, that person will be on my team, this will be great. And I started envisioning, the law of attraction. I started to become a firm believer of the law of attraction. I started to visualise all these things, and long and behold, I got picked to represent Ireland, and I went over to Mexico City. And we won the cup that year. And prior going over, I remember one of the coaches saying, grasp it, really, really take it in. And we were in the middle of Zocalo Square in Mexico City, and I'm wearing the Ireland jersey, name on the back, and the national anthem is playing, and it's just like, this is fucking surreal.
This is brilliant,
This time last year, I was homeless, sleeping rough, that way, and now I'm over in Mexico City representing my country playing football. So I suppose that was a point where I said to myself, you really can't do anything if you just sort of believe in yourself. And that was the start of it as such, I came back from there, and I got called onto the Moira and Dottie TV show, Had to get the train down to Cork, and I'm sitting there in the studio waiting to come in, and a girl called me, she said, come on in here. I was like, shits me down, she starts putting makeup on me, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
What's going on?
And I told her, and I says, you know what's crazy? She says, what? I says, I was homeless. Only bleeding so many months ago. She's like, no way. I says, now I'm sitting on RTA and you're doing my makeup, And she's like, Jesus. And it was just one of them moments where I thought, fucking mad,
and
mad.
You could probably be the only person, even saying that to that person, they probably wouldn't understand it,
No. And at the time, I'm just like, I'm getting goosebumps, and, I'm feeling it all, and I'm telling my story, and it was only then, when you come into recovery, you'll hear a lot of people saying, living a life beyond your wildest dreams. Before recovery, I would have thought, jet skis, millionaire, mansions. It's not. It's doing the things that you'd never, ever, ever see yourself doing or think yourself doing, because you're becoming this new person. You're finding all these things that you love, running. I absolutely love running now, I set a running club up. It's all these things that you'd never known, but when you're becoming this new person and you're finding who you really are.
Really living life.
Exactly.
Yeah. And isn't it great that you can you know, you can share that with everyone, because I'm sure there's loads of people in the same position that are just looking for, I suppose, an inspirational story. And like, that's what you're giving. I presume that's what you're giving a lot of people on Instagram, with the runs and all that. Even I'm even thinking about running again because I'm watching you on it. You know what I mean?
Come here, look, it's, if somebody says you can't, say why not? You know, if somebody says, I wouldn't do that, you wouldn't, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
You know, so I suppose I started to challenge myself then. You know, I started doing things that I didn't think I could do.
And it's those moments, like even just the running or the getting up, like, and, you know, seeing your kids and just doing the day-to-day stuff. Is that the most rewarding part of sober life?
Come here, it's when your kid asks you to read a book at night. You know, it's being able to stay awake and read the book.
Yeah.
Little things like that, you know. Want to go on a cycle down to the park. It's knowing that you can get down to the park and you don't have to worry about bumping into people that you owe money to, or that, you know, these little scenarios, you know, getting stopped by the guards. They're stopping you and they're congratulating you.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not stopping you, arresting you.
Yeah.
It's little things like that that are so rewarding. And like that, waking up and seeing your kids, being there as a father. I always thought I was there as a father. I wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, I was never there.
Do you find it a good thing to, I suppose, when you're making decisions now, do you find it a good thing to reference where you've come from and where you are now?
Absolutely. David Goggins speaks of reaching into the cookie jar. I don't know if he's now over here, but David Goggins speaks about reaching into the cookie jar. You know, when he's finding something difficult, he goes into the cookie jar and he goes back to when he was in a shit place, you know, and how we got through that shit times, and that, you know, you'll get through it. Because I've been here and I've been in this situation. Of course I can do this. You're always going to doubt yourself, but when you look back at where you've come from and what you've done and what you've achieved, this is a walk in the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, deadly.
You spoke about David Goggins there. You've taken part in the challenge as well, and how's that experience been?
Yeah, so when I like, obviously in recovery you do the meetings and stuff like that, and I suppose where my running started was I was doing the meetings and I was doing everything suggested to me, but I just wasn't getting enough from the meetings. I needed more. It wasn't fulfilling. I don't know what it is. I'm probably riddled with ADHD, all the whole lot, but I just wasn't getting what I needed, and I needed more. So I started to run, and I found I was getting so much from running that I gradually stopped going to meetings as frequent, and I started running more. That feeling I was getting from running was giving me such a big high. I'm sure you've all heard of the runner's high. That's exactly what I was getting from, you know, and that's the drug. That's the real drug. So we started running, and then I started looking into a guy that came up on the Instagram, David Goggins. And I was thinking, what's in? And I read his book. And if you haven't read his first book, Can't Hurt Me, read it. Changed my whole outlook on life. And he speaks and he does this challenge, Goggins 4x4 by 48. Loads of people have done it since, and it's an absolute fantastic challenge, and it is challenging. So you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. 4 miles, 6.5 kilometres every 4 hours. So at this point, I didn't even run. I think my longest run was about 18k, 20k at the point I said, I'm going to do this Goggins challenge, you know. I'm going to do it for Kill Mine, and I'm going to do it for D15 suicide awareness. I'm going to do it. And I decided to do it. It was fucking tough. It was hard, you know. It was at the point when I'd done the third run, I was thinking, what am I after doing here? You know, so I started at 4 in the day, 8 in the evening, 12, 4, 8, 12, 4, 8, 12, you know. Also starting on the Friday, all the way through to the Sunday, you know. So you're not getting much sleep. People think, oh, but you have 4 hours. Yeah. You don't, because by the time you finish your run, you go back to your house, you get showered, you eat, you know, you probably about an hour, and then you have to go to the next point. So I remember after the third run, I was thinking, what am I after doing here? I'm fucked. Like, you know,
Did you do it on your own?
So the first time I didn't, I done it with a group of people that was sort of involved, and he sort of helped me out, you know. And luckily they did, and it was a funny story. People call this the ketchup run. It was my second 4 a.m. run, and I was running down Blanchardstown to Snugburn Road, in the middle of the road, pitch black, and I started, feeling real shit. My sugars were dropping, and I'm going side to side like that. You know, I was just like a drunk man running. And I'm thinking, fuck, I'm going to be collapse here. And I just kept thinking of sugar. something to drink. And I was like, nowhere's open, there's no guys, so I need something. And I was so new to running, I didn't bring any gels, I didn't bring any fluids, I didn't bring anything. I was just off the cuff. And I seen something red on the ground as I was running. And I picked it up, and it was a sachet of ketchup. Somebody obviously fucked him out the window as I'm driving, right? And I was that weak, I couldn't even open it. So somebody took them off, and bit them open, and I was running, and I squeezed them down my throat. Walked a charm. Praise God. Possibly the highest sugar content, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll tell you how much sugar is in
Picked me up straight away, and I was able to finish the run, But I was thinking, I'm fucked here.
I'm gone here.
Only for that, the ketchup, yeah.
That's mad.
Lucky somebody from Kilmine wasn't driving past it.
Oh, stop, but we've done that challenge now for the last 4 years. And every year I do it for Kilmine and D15 Suicide Awareness. I've taken on a lot of running challenges now. I've done ultras. I do a lot of running now, like that. Set up a running club now. There's myself and a group of us. We've about 150 members, AI approved. We do couch the 5Ks. It's such a positive thing to get into.
Brilliant.
It really is.
Me and Steve, I want to get up.
Yeah.
Lads, the only thing that's stopping us is yours.
Yeah. Oh, no, 100%.
I'm definitely stopping me.
Who can we blame here?
Come here, you've got a new lease of life, relationship, kids, everything else, but work-wise, academic-wise, what's going on for yourself at the minute?
So, I went back to work in the electrical trade and the wholesalers, where you would have known me from. And I was back in CEF, and then I went to Edmonton's and like that. I was working at Edmonton's then, and I just felt I wanted a little bit more. I wanted more of a challenge, and something was leaning me towards going to college and doing a diploma in addiction and community. Obviously, the doubt was there, I was never, ever academically great. Never. And I just said, look, why not?
Why not, yeah?
So I done it. I went, and I remember going to my manager at Edmonton's, and I told him, and he said, yeah, look, no problem, we'll support you. Well done, and he was happy enough to let me go to do it. He said, look, your job is always here when you get back. And fair play to him. I left, I done the diploma, I started to work in the services. I worked in Ashley House, which is the women's residential.
Yeah.
Found it really, really great, really eye-opening. But I just wasn't for me, I'm delighted I done the diploma because I learned so much about it all, but I just found myself, how would you say,
too close to home, do you think?
Well, I wouldn't say, I was looking at other people and how they were with the clients, and I suppose I was one of those clients, so I see things differently.
Yeah.
And I just maybe wasn't a little bit pleased at how they treated people, So I sort of looked at it, and look, I just said, I don't want to get a resentment towards anything at all. So I left, and everything left on great terms, and I went back to work in the electrical trade, the electrical industry, in the wholesalers. And I left then again, and I'm now working with an electrical contractor, doing purchasing. Fantastic, absolutely love it. Love the job, I'm my own boss, and I remember him saying that to me, when I was chatting to him about it. He's like, look, you're your own boss. And I was like, well, nobody's an own boss, but he is really such a good guy, and he allows me to do my own thing, and he's very, very supportive, So at the moment, work-wise, it's fantastic, lifestyle-wise, I have a lot going on. Running, new kids, there's so much going on, and it's good.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say everything is always rosy and every day isn't great, like every day is good, but like everybody, there's always going to be challenges in life.
Yeah.
And nothing is going to be ever smooth. But what I do is I voice when I'm not feeling good,
Yeah, you have to, yeah.
I tell people on social media when I'm not feeling good. I tell people close to me when I'm not feeling good, and they're aware of that. And I suppose the reason I do that is because if I don't, it'll just all build up and build up and build up in my head.
Yeah.
And before I know it, and it's happened, I hear people being so long in recovery or doing so well in life, and then all of a sudden something just happens. And you'd often wonder, like you said about your friend taking his life, and you'd say, like, probably didn't see it coming.
How do you get to that point? Yeah.
How do you get to that point?
Yeah.
And I find it's not from expressing how you feel.
And life's too fast now as well, isn't it? That people just don't stop and ask the questions to people anymore. Just like, what are you doing? How are you getting on?
Yeah.
And I always tell people, like, if you're going to ask somebody, how's your day, or how are you, be willing to listen.
Yeah. Or ask
Yeah.
them twice.
Yeah.
Be willing to listen, because if somebody turns and say, look, I'm not doing great, don't turn and say, oh, bollocks, here we go.
Yeah.
Literally turn and say, do you know what? What's up? Is there nothing I can do?
Yeah.
Because as cliche as it sounds, be kind, because you have no idea what someone is going through.
Yeah.
You really don't.
I hope you don't mind me going back to the previous point about your diploma. That must have been a fairly unique situation where you had been through what you've been through, actually got yourself out, went and done the diploma, and obviously going back to, I suppose, work on people that would have been in similar situations. Or I'd say that was a bit surreal.
It was.
Because I'd say a lot of people don't get to do that. Do you know what I mean?
No, and when I was going through my time in Kilmoy, my key worker was somebody who'd done exactly that. And she helped me so much. Like, she had a real insight as to what I was going through. So she was able to help me out. And there was other staff there that we call them done it through the books.
Yeah.
People have life experiences. So I wanted to help people how I was helped. And I just felt so grateful to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I remember going first day in UCD. And I would think to myself, you know, bag on the back, I'm thinking, what the fuck?
What am I doing here?
How am I here? You know that way? Like,
Yeah.
But academically, I was always brutal, but I was so intrigued this time because it was something that I wanted to do. It was something that I was able to comprehend. When they were speaking about things from my own life, I was like, that's what happened to me. Yeah, now I know how I was feeling about this, and all these different terminologies and methods and all these little scenarios. I was like, yeah, I know. You know the way? So I was able to do quite well. And then when I was working, I was able just to be a little bit more sympathetic towards this person.
Yeah.
Not feel sorry for them as such, but I suppose just, look, I know what you're going through.
Yeah.
You know, that way.
Yeah. That's
And
what
9 times out of 10, someone would turn around and say, oh, you don't. And I'm like, no, look, I do. And then I'd sort of give them a little bit of my story and my experience, and they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, look, come here. There is hope. You can get through this.
Yeah, and that's part of what you're still doing. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
Just in another way, not as a professional, but as, you know.
Where, look, as I've said to people on numerous occasions, my phone is always on. I've had people come up to me. I've spoke on TV shows, Ireland AM, I've spoke on radios and stuff like that. And so many people have reached out to me, strangers, absolute strangers. But that doesn't mean they don't deserve a bit of help, you know what I mean? Regardless, you don't have to know somebody to help them.
Yeah, true.
And talking about, you know, your experience and your stories, have you ever thought about writing a book?
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah, I have. And it's something that has played on my mind a lot lately. I've even come up with a name.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll give you the name of it for when you see it.
Exclusive.
So it's going to be called Somewhere Along the Way.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah, that's good.
Somewhere Along the Way, and the whole, I suppose, insight to it is because it was somewhere along the way is when I found myself, you know, and somewhere along the way is when I got lost. And I was somewhere along the way is when I was able to do all these things and become a better father, a better partner, a better son. It was somewhere along the way when it all happened, you know, so.
Well, I look forward to
Never a word spoke.
Yeah. Well, look, Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I know myself and Keith, we say that we want to learn and grow doing this podcast. And I think speaking to people like yourself is not just going to help us grow, but it's going to help, you know, as like you mentioned before, if one person's listening and they take something from this,
yeah, look,
it's a benefit, you know.
Absolutely. Like 1 out of 100, regardless, 1 out of 1,000, it's that one person will then go and speak to somebody else and tell the story to them, and it has a ripple effect, you know. Unbeknownst to us, it does have a ripple effect.
Class.
Yeah. And
cheers, lads. Thanks again for having me on.
There's a Spotify playlist that we put together for every season, and we ask each guest to add one song to it as well. And I was just wondering what your song choice would be to add on there.
Oh, what would my song be? Toto, Africa.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Party tune as well.
That's a winning song, that. It was beating. That was the BPM on that.
Look, wish you the best. Wish your partner the best, your kids the best, and hopefully the rest of 2024 and whatever you do and the rest of your life is going to be amazing.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate
Fair
it.
play to you.
Appreciate you.
Right, Keith, that's just about it for season 4, episode 3.
Yeah, really like to thank our guests that we had on this episode, Daniel and Conor.
Yeah, an amazing story from Daniel and an amazing bit of insight from Conor in regards to apprenticeships. And look, if you are happy with what you heard today and you want to come back for a little bit more on the next episode, head over to wherever you get your podcasts, give us a like and a follow, and get notified when the next one drops.
Yeah, and just from me and Steve-O, really appreciate anyone that does listen in or watches us on YouTube. So thanks for everyone's continued support.
100%. Take it easy.